Hey, how's it going, guys? So today we're going to be talking about the sensation that has hit the internet for the last year called the Mandela Effect.
The Mandela Effect is basically when a lot of people remember something being a certain way when in reality it's actually a different way. The phrase Mandela Effect was coined by the fact that a lot of people remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s when in fact he only recently died in 2013.
Today we're going to give you guys our top 5 Mandela effects that really blew our minds.
So starting off with number 5 is the iconic Star Wars phrase, "Luke, I am your father." Now this phrase is just so widely recognized as the time when Luke is finding out that Darth Vader is actually his father, Anakin Skywalker, and it's just this whole big thing. But in reality, that's not what he said in the movie. The actual line is, "No, I am your father."
He told me you killed him. No, I am your father.
Luke, I'm your father, was never said. However, everyone thinks that's the line. And what's even more crazy is that the voice actor of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, even remembers himself the line saying, "Luke, I am your father."
When I first saw the dialogue that said, "Luke, I am your father," I said to myself, he's lying.
Now, as a Star Wars fan myself, I just find this insane because there's shirts, there's mugs, there's all kinds of paraphernalia that has the phrase, "Luke, I am your father." Now, it's possible that's just a more easy thing to recognize if you say, "Luke, I am your father," even though it's not the real line, because then you realize that you're talking about Luke Skywalker, and then, if you're just saying, "No, I'm your father," people might not know what that means. But, I mean, it's quoted in movies. It's insane how many people get this quote wrong. And if you ask someone, what's an iconic Star Wars line, they'll say, "Luke, I'm your father." The line was never said.
Alright, number 4 is a famous quote from the movie Snow White. If you guys remember in the movie Snow White, there's a mirror in the movie and the queen talks to it. Now there's a famous quote from the movie that she says to the mirror. So if you guys want to guess really quick, it's "blank blank on the wall." So think for a second, think what you think it is. If you guessed "mirror mirror on the wall," you're wrong.
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
Are you kidding me? Like, the famous quote is "mirror mirror on the wall." Like movies like Shrek and all these other movies, everyone always says "mirror mirror." There's also a movie called "Mirror Mirror," so I don't know why the quote's actually "magic mirror." I don't know, that one really got to me.
Number 3 is the name of a very popular children's book about a family of bears. This one has been driving people crazy, including myself, because I read these books as a child. I have grown up knowing these books as a certain name, pronounced a certain way, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everyone is freaking out because it's actually not pronounced the way that we all thought it was. A classic book called the Berenstain Bears. Now, if I'm saying that and it sounds funny, that's because it should sound funny. I grew up calling it the Berenstain Bears. My mom thought it was the Berenstain Bears. Everyone on the internet thinks it's the Berenstain Bears, E-I-N, when in reality, all this time it's been A-I-N. No one would pronounce Berenstain Bears, if they looked at it and saw the A there. Why all of a sudden are people freaking out about this? It's insane. If you also used to have these books read to you, or read these books, or watched a TV show when you were a kid, go back and see if you still have some of the books. That's what I did. When I first saw this, I was like rummaging through all of my old storybooks trying to find it, and I found it. I held it up to myself, and it said Berenstain Bears. Mind blown.
Number 2 on the list, this one really got to me. Now, I'm sure the majority of our audience hasn't really seen this show that much, but in the 1950s, it was a very popular sitcom called I Love Lucy. From the show, there's a very famous quote that people keep saying, even today, just to look back at the show. The quote is, "Lucy, you got some splaining to do." Now, that's a famous line from the show, and everyone still says it all the time. But what if I told you that line actually never happened? That's right, for some reason, everyone says this quote all the time, but no one actually said that in the show. It just never said at all. People keep referencing the famous quote, like in movies and TV shows nowadays. Like, here's a clip from Fools Rush In with Matthew Perry.
"Lucy, you got some splaining to do."
Now, here's a clip from The Fairly Odd Parents that also referenced it.
"Wanda, you got some splaining to do."
So everyone keeps saying this quote all the time to, like, reference the famous... This sitcom was huge in the 1950s, and it never got said. "Lucy got some splaining to do," was never said in the show. Like, That is so crazy to me. This one really got to me, and because if you look online, everyone on the YouTube comments and everything, and like Facebook page, they're like, wait, what happened to the quote? I remember watching this a long time ago, and it said the quote, but it was never said. So that one's very crazy, and I can't explain that one. I don't know.
Alright guys, coming in at number 1, our top Mandela Effect is from the movie Apollo 13. It's Tom Hanks' famous line, "Houston, we have a problem." Now to many of you guys, that might seem perfectly normal. That's what you've heard. That's what you've heard people quote in movies. Everyone's saying it. Some people don't even know what it's from. I didn't even know what it was from. And I'll tell you a story. 2 years ago, Steven was talking to me about Mandela effects, and he mentioned this. He said, "Joey, do you know the classic line, 'Houston, we have a problem'?" I said, "Yeah, who doesn't know that, right?" He then goes on to tell me that the line isn't the actual line from the movie Apollo 13. The actual line is, "Houston, we've had a problem." So I was like, oh wow, that's kind of cool. You know, people think it's "we have a problem." It's actually "we've had a problem." Only a few months ago, Steven sends me a link to the YouTube clip of the scene where Tom Hanks says, "Houston, we have a problem." And that's exactly what he says. He says, "Houston, we have a problem."
Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
That's the line that everyone thought he said, but that he didn't actually say, but now it's what he says. That's right, it flipped back. Go to find this video clip on YouTube. We'll link it down below. Look at the comments section. Everyone in the comment section is talking about how it flipped back to what people thought it was originally. This is the only one that I know of that was one way, that turned out to be another way, and then that actually flipped back. This is why it's number 1, guys. Let us know if you know any other ones that have done this, but this one is just completely mind-blowing, and you know, I don't even know what to think about it. Look at the comment section in the YouTube video. I'm telling you to do that because it's insane. Everyone's talking about it.
Alright guys, that concludes our Mandela Effect video. Let us know in the comments which one of these blew your mind the most, or if there are any others that you know that really got to you, let us know. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and we'll see you next time.